angiosperms. Now these are also called flowering plants, as they produce sexual structures that are the flowers. They are called flowering plants. Now some of the characteristics of this is angiosperm is that you can say that the ovules are not naked as it was in gymnosperm. They are covered with the help of an ovary. Seed will be enclosed within the fruits, and they will range from very small flowers like wolfia to large tall trees, that is eucalyptus. They are used for food, fodder, fuel, medicines, and a variety of requirements that are needed by humans. Now the angiosperms are divided into two main types, that is monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Now the monocots will have only one cotyledon, that is the seed leaf in their structure, and dicot will have two cotyledons. As the name suggests, mono means single and di means two. Mono means single cotyledon and dicotyledonous means two cotyledons. The basic other characteristics of these monocot and dicot is that the monocot will have parallel venation, and this will have reticulate. I'll tell you what it is. See, there's a leaf in which you will see these veins. So when they are parallel to each other, it is called parallel venation, and when it is like this, so this is what? This is the reticulate venation. Other thing in dicot and monocot is that dicots will have trimerous floral appendages, and this will have tetramerous. So they will have floral appendages in a group of 3, and they will have any floral appendage in the group of 4. Other example, other difference between the monocot and dicot is that you can see about the rooting system. They will have adventitious roots, and they will have the taproot. So these are the basic differences between monocot and dicot. When we see today, mostly the plants we see are monocot and dicot. So these are the basic type. Now when we are talking about angiosperm, we will talk about the flower, that is the main sexual organ. Now in flower you have, when we talk about flower, you have what? Two things. One is the carpel, that is the female part, and other is the stamen, that is the male part. When we talk about stamen, it will have an anther and a long stalk. This is the anther in which the pollen will be produced, and in carpel you will have what? You will have this structure. So this is the stigma, this is the style, and this is the ovary, and inside that we'll find what? Ovules, which are the eggs. Inside ovule we'll find the egg. Now this is the anther, this is the stamen structure, and this is the carpel structure. Here pollen grains will be formed here. Now when this anther matures in stamen, it will produce pollen grains, and with the help of pollination, these pollen grains will reach the stigma of the female flower, or if the flower is bisexual, it will reach in the same flower. So this method is what? Pollination. It can be self-pollination when it is occurring in the same plant, and it can also be cross-pollination when it is occurring in different plants. Okay, but it should be of same species. We cannot say that the neem pollen will fertilize the guava pollen. It will not be happening like that. It has to be the same species. Okay, so this is the stamen and this is the carpel. Now when we will talk more about the female structure. Okay, that is the carpel. Now this was the stigma, this was the style, and this is the ovary. Okay. Now in ovary you will see a egg apparatus. Okay, that ovule, and you will see this egg apparatus, in which you will have 3 cells here, 3 cells here, and 2 cells here. Okay. So this is the structure of an ovule, inside structure of an ovule, which is attached with the ovary wall with the help of placenta. That what is placenta we'll see in the 5th chapter, that is morphology of plants. Okay. So these cells are called the antipodal. These are called the polar nuclei, and these are the synergid, and this is the egg, and this is the egg apparatus. Okay. So now what will happen? The pollen which is here will be fertilized, and it will enter a pollination tube will be formed. This is the pollination tube. Okay. This will be formed, and the pollen will reach here, the micropylar end. This is called the chalazal end. This is called the micropylar. Chalaza, you can call it chalaza, and this is called the micropylar. So our pollen will enter in this here, and it will enter from here. Okay. Now when the pollen is there, when it attaches itself to the stigma, it is having what? It is in the 2 cell stage or 3 cell stage. Okay. Now it will be divided into 2 gametes, 2 male gametes. Okay. Each will be having what? Ploidy will be haploid, and here the ploidy of this egg will be haploid. Okay. Egg is haploid. So one of the male gamete will fuse. This is the egg apparatus. Okay. This is the egg, and this was the pollen tube entering here. Okay. So one of the male gamete will fuse here with the polar nuclei, and one will be fusing with the egg. Male gamete plus polar nuclei, and male gamete plus egg. So here zygote will be formed, and here we'll see the formation of pen. Okay, that is primary endosperm nucleus, and this endosperm which is formed now, will now help in the nourishment of this developing zygote. Okay, this will be further differentiated in the embryo, and this endosperm will help in the development of this zygote. Okay, so pen will be formed. Pen is nothing but primary endosperm nucleus. Now you see what you saw, 2 types of fertilizations. One was a male gamete was combining with the polar nuclei, and the other male gamete was combining with the egg. So it is also called as double fertilization. Okay, this is called what? This is called double fertilization. Now you saw here the male gamete was haploid, and there were 2 polar nuclei. So N plus N. So the pen which is formed is having a triple condition. Okay, that is the triple ploidy. So the primary endosperm nucleus which is formed is triploid. So here it is triploid because male gamete united itself, that is N plus one polar nuclei plus the second polar nuclei. So N pen is formed, and this is what? This is triple fusion. This is what? This is triple fusion. Because three haploid cells fused with each other and form the primary endosperm nucleus. So this is called triple fusion. Okay. So angiosperm now the zygote will be formed. The zygote will develop into an embryo, then we'll have the seed, and the seed will again, when germinated, will form the main plant body, that is diploid in nature. So the main plant body here you can say that is sporophyte. Okay. So in this way whole thing will occur. I will explain this once again, that here the stigma is present. Because of this the pollen will be dusted here with the help of a process, that is pollination, that is the transfer of pollen to the stigma of the same plant or the other plant. Now pollen tube will be formed, in which the pollen grain will be present in the two cell stage. Okay, that is two cells will be present, one male gamete, two male gamete will be present, one male gamete will fuse with the egg cell and it will produce the zygote, and other male gamete will fuse here with the polar nuclei and it will form pen. As two fertilizations were there, so we call it as double fertilization, and as in here in the middle of the egg apparatus or the middle of the ovule, two polar nuclei, okay, which each one of them was haploid, that is N plus N, and a male gamete, that was also N, fused with each other to form primary endosperm nucleus, and that is what? That is triple fusion. Three haploid cells fused with each other, and so we called it as triple fusion. Okay, so this is all about angiosperms. This is the cycle of the angiosperms. Angiospermae or angiosperms, they are the most advanced division which are the flowering plants. So angiosperms are commonly called as flowering plants. Okay, now what is the difference between angiosperm and gymnosperm? Seeds are enclosed within the ovary inside the fruit in angiosperm, while in gymnosperm we find what? We find naked seeds. They are highly evolved plants adapted primarily to the terrestrial habitat. So as we saw in bryophytes, there was requirement of water for completion of their life cycle for reproduction, but here angiosperms are highly evolved and they are having better adaptability to the terrestrial habitat. They vary in size, as Wolffia is the smallest and Eucalyptus is the tallest, that is Wolffia is just 1 mm and Eucalyptus is 100 meter. Now plant body is well differentiated into root, stem and leaves. Okay, so we will find well defined structures which will be the root, stem and leaves. It has flowers, as they are also called flowering plants. There will be production of fruit, seeds and vascular tissues also, xylem and phloem. Xylem is for water conduction and phloem is for food conduction, are well developed. So what do you understand by vascular tissue? They are the conducting tissues which are present in plants. Now xylem shows vessels and phloem show companion cells and sieve tube. Okay, xylem will have now vessels, tracheids vessels, and phloem shows companion cells, sieve tubes and sieve cells. Okay. Angiosperms will show heteromorphic alternation of generation. This I will be explaining in the further lecture, that is the alternation of generation. Here the sporophyte will be the diploid, dominant, autotrophic and independent stage, while the gametophyte will be recessive, haploid and dependent on the sporophyte, and it will be having very less amount of cell. Okay, very few cells will be there. These plants are called heterosporus because they will be producing two types of spores, that is microspores and megaspore. Microspores will be produced in microsporangia, which are on the microsporophylls, that is stamen, and megaspores will be produced in megasporangia that are present on the megasporophyll, that is the carpel. So stamen is the male reproductive organ in a flower and carpel is the female reproductive organ. Now essential whorls and accessory whorls will form the flower. You will see when you see a flower, you see various whorls like petal, sepal, okay, gynoecium, androecium. So essential whorls will be the whorls which are essential for uh, reproductive process, that is this androecium and gynoecium. Androecium means the stamen and gynoecium means the carpel part, and the accessory whorls are the petals and sepals. Okay. Pollination is indirect, that is pollen grain fall on the stigma first. It is not direct pollination. Okay. Angiosperms will show double fertilization, that is one male gamete fuses with the egg cell, this I have already explained, to form embryo, and the second male gamete will fuse with the secondary nucleus to form endosperm, and this particular endosperm will provide nourishment to the developing embryo, and then the seed, when the seed germinates, it will use the endospermic part which will help in the formation of the root and the stem like structure initially on germination. Now the angiosperms were the ovules will change into seed and the ovary will ripen to form fruit. Okay, so you have to keep in mind the ovary will be forming the fruit and the ovule will be forming the seed. Okay, now the angiosperms were divided into two classes. Okay, that was the dicotyledonous, dicots or the monocot, dicotyledon or monocotyledon. So as the name suggests, dicotyledon will have two cotyledons in the embryo, that is seed leaf. Stem is heavily branched with a taproot system. Leaves will show reticulate venation. Flowers show tetra or pentamerous symmetry. Okay. Everything which is present, the whorls which are present will be either tetramerous, that is in the pair of four or pentamerous. Secondary growth is found as they will have a special organ or special tissue which is the cambium. Vascular bundles will be conjoint, collateral and open. This we'll study in the next chapter in the anatomy of plant. And examples are sunflower and China rose. When we talk about monocots, they will have single cotyledon. Cotyledons means the seed leaf. Okay, so they only have a single cotyledon in the embryo. Stem is less branched and there will be the presence of adventitious root system. Leaves show parallel venation along with the sheath base. Flowers will be generally trimerous. Every whorl will be in a multiple of 3. Vascular bundles are conjoint, collateral and closed. Secondary growth is absent and examples are maize and jowar. Okay. So here you will see, I'll explain you the taproot system. In taproot system, you will have this main root and then the secondary roots will be arising from here. Okay, like this, and then tertiary roots and then quaternary roots. So in this is the taproot system. Taproot. Okay. When I talk about adventitious roots, it will be like this is the soil region and they will have fiber like things as you see in coriander. Okay, they are having this bunch of fiber like things and these are what? These are the adventitious roots. Okay. Now when we talk about the venation part, in monocot we have parallel venation like you see in banana. Okay, like this, the venation will be like this. The venation is the vein part which you see in the leaves, and in the dicots we will have the reticulate venation. It will be like this, it will be a mesh like structure like this. Okay, so this is the basic difference, and here secondary growth will be absent. The secondary growth will be absent here because there will be no presence of cambium, and examples are maize and jowar. So angiosperm are the main flowering plants. Okay, and they are having well developed sexual organ, that is a flower which will help in sexual reproduction. Pollination is the process by which the male gamete, that is pollen grain, will transfer on the stigma of the female flower, or the flower. It can also be bisexual. So these angiosperms are the flowering plants. Nowadays we are able to see only the angiosperms, and they provide a various benefits to the human mankind. Okay, so this was all about angiosperms.